Welcome back to the Up North Pod. I'm Chris, that's Kyler, and that's Alex, and we are your HQ for all things happening in and around the Big Sky this week. My hair is doing something weird under my hat, kind of like some of our teams did this week. Guys, before we get into the Big Sky, we're going to keep one of our little 50-50s going. I know we kind of quasi already covered this one, but I think there's something else here. We've seen some stuff like, FBS and FCS where teams have gone down to weather, or we see this a lot in the playoffs where teams come usually up to weather. If you were a player and you had to pick between having, let's say, a bowl game, so it's not a playoff game, so, you take out the element of it, but a cold game at altitude, or would you rather have a winter game that's cold in altitude, maybe snow, sleet, or a hot game in the South in late, like week 1, week 0, where it's 100 degrees and 70 to 80% humidity? Kyler?
I mean, as the dude who lives in the South, used to live in Spokane, lived in Arizona, I don't want to mow my lawn if it's above 90 down here in the South. Right? Where I don't mind doing stuff in 30 degrees, 20 degrees. Yeah, if I'm playing, I think it's easier to put layers on, play in the cold, than it is in 90% humidity, 100 degrees where you're getting cramps every few minutes. You can't stay hydrated. Yeah, give me cold weather all day. I think it's a little easier.
Boatman, you also kind of have the experience. You played Sunbelt and Big Sky football. Mm-hmm. What's harder?
The coldest game I played, Chris, was we were in the bowl game. I mean, that was by far the coldest. I mean, that was 10 degrees. And I compare that to Mobile, Alabama in mid-late September, an afternoon kick. It's the exact scenario you're describing. I'll take Mobile, Alabama. I will. I'll take Mobile on a hot September day over the ice rink of Boise, just because of how that changes the game. In terms of footing, things like that, the cold. You talk about muscle cramps. It's hard to stay loose in colder weather. Hits hurt worse. Yeah. You can always keep drinking more water on the sideline and keep drinking electrolytes. But this is me, the lawn snapper. Some of my teammates might call me a freaking idiot, and they're probably right. I have better feel of the ball when it's warmer out than when it's cold. So, I guess I'll take Mobile in September over Boise in December. That's the comparison.
So I got to be a tiebreaker here, and I was even thinking like altitude, like Montana State. But yeah, you got a good point.
I mean, Boise altitude is still 4,000 feet above sea level. It's not like
that's probably true. I forget.
Yeah, we're used to it.
You're the foothills of mountains, and you forget. But
I'm in the mountains of West Virginia, Chris, and our elevation's pushing 1,500 feet. Yeah, okay, it's mountains.
Oh boy. I'm going to break this tie, and I'm going to lean with Kyler.
No, you're going to lean domes. Just play in a dome. You don't need to worry about 75 outside.
A dome at, Northern Arizona. A dome at heat in elevation. Let's go. Yeah,
why play outside?
Hot summers, cold. But I just thought that was interesting because, I was watching some games. I think kickoff at the Montana State game this weekend was 100 degrees. And, it actually has a temperature on some of the screenshots on our thing. There's some hot games this week. And, when I saw Bozeman at 100, I'm like, ooh. And they show that crappy kind of away side of their stadium, the one that hasn't gotten love since it was built. And it's just baking in the sun. Zero shade from, a press box or anything. And I'm like, those are already the cheap seats. Those people are probably going to be burnt turkeys by the end of this thing. But
it's going to be 100 in Eugene. And then I think it's probably going to be, 180% humidity down in the swamp. So, yeah, we're going to be playing in heat for a while, and then hopefully it cools down. So
yeah, I just thought that because I was watching a little bit of that Utah-Florida game, and watching Cam Rising, the Utah quarterback, because I listened to a bunch of the Pac-12 stuff this week, obviously getting ready for a bunch of the Big Sky games in Idaho specifically, and just they were all talking about that game, and they were like, humidity isn't even that big of a deal. It's not gonna. And I watched that game, and then Cam Rising is just 2 inches deep of water on his face. Looks like he just ran through a waterfall. And then I was listening to a couple of their shows this morning because I wanted to hear more of what they had to say with how Idaho did, and they didn't mention it all. But they're like, yeah, the humidity really snuck up. I'm like, you guys are the same guys last week that were telling us that humidity isn't going to be an issue. So our goal this week is not be like those podcasts that immediately retract what we say last week after saying it's not a big deal. And then it's like, or it won't be a big deal. And then it's like, that is 100% what caused that loss.
I guess, last year I had to move my girlfriend into her apartment in Richmond, Virginia at the end of August. And let me tell you, I still have nightmares.
Yeah.
Okay? Like that is like Richmond is the South, like it is. And yeah, this is why it's the Up North podcast, not the Down South podcast.
Even though, you're kind of in between and being in West Virginia. I'm deep heart of the South in Houston. And then Chris, you're the only up north guy.
Yeah. I get snow, but
there you
everyone
go.
Here, oh, beautiful, Chris. Yeah, everyone here talks about the winters in West Virginia. I'm like, guys,
it's not that bad.
You realize I didn't see green for 6 months one year in North Idaho, so I don't know what you're complaining about.
Yeah,
I don't know the problem.
40 degrees. Oh no.
I get snow, but
so let's get into we'll get into some overarching things before we go generic games, because it was week 1, and so there's cool things. Like, I forgot, like, what's fun about this time of year specifically is it is still a little bit later, but because we're doing all these non-con games, you get those later kickoff times. Like watching the Montana State game and how it went from like kind of daytime to sunset to nighttime. I'm like, you don't get that once the season gets going. Like ESPN now, thankfully, has put us to where like Eastern Washington had a night game last year, Montana State and Weber had a night game last year, and they're cool. And I'm not saying I want every game to be a night game, but like when you're at a conference, like we have that option with our conference teams to like have a night game. You don't get to see Bobcat Stadium at night very often. So I thought that was cool. Is there any other kind of things that you forgot about until week 1 hit this week from around the Big Sky for you guys?
Not really.
Yeah,
just football's back.
Football's back, baby.
I had like 5 days in a row the Sunday scaries. That's what I get for having a game on Thursday. So talk about night. I got a night game. They're in Pittsburgh, and got to experience that, and got to meet Kirk Herbstreit, Reese Davis, Desmond Howard. Pretty cool. Kirk and I actually talked for quite a bit on the sideline. Like I gave him one nugget of WVU football information. For the rest of the first half, he kept coming back to me and asking me about WVU football, as if awesome. I know everything. But
did you tell him like I'm actually a Vandal and a Big Sky fan?
No, it's too entrenched, man. Talk about my
so
heart.
If you guys. You should have been pulling for if they do cover a Big Sky game on game day, that they bring us on as guest pickers.
Talk about my heart getting ripped out twice in one weekend with Idaho and then in West Virginia.
You had some games come down to the wire this week.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, but yeah, the night aspect. Looking back at kind of overarching themes, the Big Sky this week. I guess I'll give just a quick take. Everything seemed par for the course. Like nothing was like
not too many shockers. Yeah.
No, so far, I think everything kind of fell week 1 how we somewhat talked about, except for maybe the Idaho game. Overall. So I would say we talk. I know we're going to go into it later, but everything just kind of seemed par for the course.
Yeah. So let's get into it. Biggest surprise of last week. Boatman, I'll let you take the. We'll let you go first because I've got a handful, so I can probably fill in the back end if we need it.
Yeah. God, I don't want to be a homer with this take.
It's not a homer. This is a good surprise.
Biggest surprise of the weekend was the Idaho Vandals. I talk about par for the course. Weber State took care of business. Cal Poly got thrashed by Fresno State, Montana State, and Montana took care of business. Eastern Kyler, you talked about, might be in a closer of a game than Chris and I maybe thought. Mm-hmm. Every game kind of panned out exactly how we maybe thought. The Houston Baptist one, I don't think we expected Houston Baptist to score 46. But Pullman, Washington, on a Saturday night, I was up till 1 a.m. East Coast time. The Idaho Vandals had a chance to win the game inside the Cougar 30 with 30 seconds left. You would have told me that on last week when we recorded, I would have gone, you're stupid and you're crazy.
Yeah,
stop it. Don't do that to me.
To your point, I just want to touch on this as kind of an overarching thing as well that kind of covers this. If I had to ask you guys guessing, what do you think the score was at the end of the first quarter in the 4 Big Sky versus Pac-12 games? Like combined score, if it was conference versus conference, kind of like the Ryder Cup.
Wait, 4. Who am I missing here?
Like an average or just like combined?
No, the combined. Like how much the Big Sky teams put up to the Pac-12.
42 to 28.
You know, actually, I would actually keep it pretty slim. Like, for example, and this is kind of goes off of my history of playing Pac-12 teams. One year we played UW. We were down 7-0 in the first quarter. Then we were down 35-0 at halftime.
Yeah.
You know, Wazoo, we were 7-3 going into halftime. That kind of stuff. Sometimes the first quarter of these first week games can get actually pretty close. I'd probably go with maybe like 21-10 Pac-12, right? Or maybe 3 games. I'll give you 28-14. You know what I mean? That's probably a fair.
And I was also,
I was
also thinking about the Mountain West.
I meant the Mountain West too. I meant
okay.
5 games.
All 5.
Yeah.
I think like Cal Poly was down 21-0, and then they started coming back.
Yeah.
I don't remember if that was the first quarter or not.
It was 35-35. We were tied up at the end of the first quarter in all of our matches across them. And if you take out the Cal Poly game that was down 21-0, we had a lead. Like
so, I was if you go Pac-12 really close, only, we have a good lead.
If we Pac-12 only, Arizona State was beating NAU only 3-0.
17-3.
Yep.
All I know is I picked the total points right. I said 42-28. So there you go. That's the same thing as 35-35. You're welcome. I also picked the Grizz spread perfect. So you're welcome.
But how crazy is that? The Big Sky at the end of the first quarter, which doesn't really matter, but talk about steps in the right direction. Like we were up 17-3 over 3 Pac-12 schools at the end of the first. And going in the halftime, we were probably dang near close to tied again, other than freaking NAU 21. So, I mean, we had all of our teams had a great performance against the Pac-12 and the Power 5, or G5. I'm going to go with, because I already know which one Kyler's probably going to pick because I listened to the Big Kid Show on Monday on my drive back from Moscow. So I'll leave that one for you.
I wonder what you think I'm going to say.
I'm going to take the Portland State San Jose State game.
Biggest surprise? I mean, you actually thought it would be a sneaky upset.
Yeah, but I just think that I thought it could be a sneaky upset. But when you look at that, like, once again, that's a game that came down to the final couple of minutes of the game. And we joke about Portland State being top 5 in a loving fashion. Seeing them come out against, yes, a subpar San Jose State team, I still think I would have predicted San Jose State to win this game. Probably something closer to like 30-14, not 21-17. So for me, leaving a big surprise on the table, I will say that for how much we make fun of Portland State, it was a great showing for the Vikings.
I think they did what it was expected, to be honest. I don't think it was a great showing. I think it was just a showing. And it's one of those things, it's not me downplaying Portland State. They did pretty good, right? But if you look at like the history of who San Jose State's played in the Big Sky, their only teams that they're beating by double digits are the 1-10 Southern Utah, a 2-9 Northern Colorado. It's like I had this conversation with Brian Marceau because he's like, no, it was a really impressive. You can't tell me there's 3 other teams that look better than Portland State this week. And I'm like, I think I can. And I was like, when you look at who San Jose State plays, every time they've played a top tier, like top 50 FCS program, it is a very close game. When they don't, and they typically play the bottom, they murder them, and they think that's what you're supposed to do. Portland State's a middle of the road FCS program. They did pretty good. I don't think San Jose State is good. They've had one good year in this weird COVID season, and then they've been not very good every other year. So, that's just my 2 cents.
What's your biggest? Well, we'll get to that game talk here in a second. Yeah. But who was your biggest?
Who surprise? Did you think I'm going to pick? Since you said you listened to the Big Boy Show.
Yeah, I thought you were going to take the old. Oh gosh, I just had it pulled up. Your Cal Poly.
I will not. I want to
You
take.
were all like Fresno State was really good last year, and they didn't look that bad.
They didn't look that bad, but I want to do it
pretty...
a complete opposite way, just
all
because
right.
this is more fun. Biggest surprise. How bad did Northern Colorado look versus Houston Baptist?
Well, that's the biggest loser of the week, which is the next topic.
Hey, you just asked biggest surprise. I didn't think that game was supposed to be very competitive.
Surprises can be negative. I like that.
Yeah, let's get some negative. Let's get some negativity on the show. I did not think they would look that bad versus their easiest game on their schedule.
No, didn't we all say they would win that? I mean, I think we said they might get challenged, but I don't think anybody thought they'd
whooped them last year. Yeah. I mean, that was the only team where Northern Colorado looked like,
and that was on the road last year.
Yeah, it was a horrible look for Northern Colorado. So that's actually my biggest surprise, because I think Houston Baptist is one of the worst programs in the nation. And that was by far Northern Colorado's easiest game on the schedule. And we all thought they would have, potentially 3 wins. Ouch. Yeah. So yeah, that's my biggest surprise. They couldn't beat the easiest team on their schedule.
Okay. Who do you think had the biggest win last week? Now, obviously, this is out of conference. It's a little bit challenging, but I'm thinking when we're in season, this will be like, this is a resume building type win. But we still get some of these in the out of conference. We'll go in reverse order this time. Kyler, who do you think had the biggest win?
Yeah, I think there's only one team, in my opinion, played a top half FCS team for that actually won. So I would say the biggest win was probably, in terms of a resume building win, Eastern Washington beating Tennessee State, because I do think they'll finish in the top 2 of the OVC. I don't think it's necessarily it's a solid win. I don't think it's a great win. I don't think it was, the world's best performance, but in terms of who played the toughest FCS team and won, I think Eastern Washington played the toughest FCS team of week 1 and still came out with a win. So resume building, I really do think Tennessee State is probably going to maybe not win the OVC, but they're going to be a top 3 team in the OVC, top 2. And that's been a playoff caliber conference where they've had 2 bids every now and then. So yeah, that's my thought.
Yeah, I was going to pick that one too, because exactly. I think we've talked about it and you can see it online. There are some people that just don't understand how good Tennessee State is probably going to be this year. And you put up the conference they're in, that is going to be, they're probably going to win the OVC or be second. So it will be considered a quality type win at the end of the year. So you know what? I don't even want to pick anybody else because I did cover that game pretty in-depthly there. And I strongly believe that Eastern Washington had the biggest resume type building win this week. Bowman?
I'm going to go with the Bobcats. Not to say end all be all. Sagarin's just a good way to we don't get rankings in FCS, so sometimes you have to lean on things like Sagarin. Tennessee State's is above 200 ranking Sagarin at 206. McNeese State was 176. I'm not saying that McNeese State is better, but the fact that Montana State went in there and won by 3 scores, and almost 4 scores if 2-point conversion is a little weird, and the fact that they're coming off of that shellacking in the down in Frisco. So that's to me, that's a big win. It's a good confidence booster. Hey, we're back. We're rolling. Tommy Malloy's back. Let's get going. So I think maybe in terms of maybe that Eastern win's a bigger resume builder, but maybe the confidence boost for Montana State, which has every right, they are, should be, and everything they have been, it's theirs to lose because of where they got last year. So,
and they did it without
come out and win. Exactly. Right.
They did it without their best player.
So, exactly. So we talk about that, right? We talk about, Noah Fonze. They lost their best player that they've had in, a very long time in that school last year, and they come out and beat, a historically, above average FCS team, right? So by 3 scores at home.
Yep.
That's what you want. That's they did their part. On to the next one. On to Portland to play Oregon State.
Yep.
Yeah. Now I'm not, I know this is a Big Sky show, but I'm secretly rooting for McNeese to get back to where they used to be. They've fallen off so much in recent years, but they're a fun program to watch. Awesome fan base, cool stadium. I know it's a Big Sky podcast, but I think
it's Big Sky adjacent.
They played.
And they've taken out a lot of Big Sky schools in the playoffs.
No, they've taken out Idaho. That is not a
No,
lot.
they got some wins against Montana.
Multiple.
But still hurts. Kyler wasn't even alive.
Back
Still hurts.
I'm rooting for them to get back to where they used to be, which could be a potential playoff caliber team. Right now, they're at the bottom of the Southland. But I'm rooting for them.
On the Football Chris show, I rated their coaching hire, I believe, second or third this year. So I think they'll be able to get up there. So let's kind of briefly roll through some of these games that we didn't talk about, and we'll deep dive in the ones that we think are worth deep diving into, and we'll blow through some that probably aren't. So leading it off with obviously the first game, Weber State 41-5 over Western Oregon. We touched on it last week for people that didn't watch it. This is like it was a makeup game because James Madison went FBS. So it was kind of a thrown together game. So yes, it won't count, but you don't want to bash Weber State for the scheduling of this because it's a lot like what Eastern had to do last year with scheduling Central. Their opponent left them, and at that point, all the other FCS schools are locked up in things. So, would we like Weber State to test themselves a little bit more? Yes. What's that, Bowman?
How do we get a safety? What happened here?
I actually missed that. It happened so early. Yeah. I didn't even.
Is this Iowa, South Dakota State? South Dakota State?
That happened at the 1 minute and 5 second mark of the game.
Yeah.
What happened?
I hadn't even flipped on if I gotten the ESPN to quit buffering yet by the time that thing happened. So I got no answer for you on it. And I will break the wall, the broadcasting wall here and say I have not even watched highlights on this game yet because it was a D2 opponent. They did what they were supposed to do. A quick look at the stat book goes to show that there was no deception. Bronson Barron appears to be the guy. He took all but 2 of the snaps in this game. Josh Davis, when he's healthy, averages 4.8 yards a carry at 53 net yards. He got a touchdown. Weber State's offense probably going to look a lot of the same players it's traditionally had because then you go to just receiving numbers, and this is where you would say like they played a D2 school. Maybe you'll see somebody pop up the chart as like this is going to be like when Idaho played Simon Fraser a couple of years ago. We're like, it's going to be Cottrell Haywood, whatever. It wasn't. It was Hayden Hatton who ended up having like a huge showing, and then he becomes kind of a cult classic, whatever for Idaho that year. This is where you see those games where like maybe we had something wrong all season. Their best receiver is arguably Jacob Sharp, who caught 2 catches for 43 yards. Or you could say the most consistent receiver is Justin Malone, who caught 4 catches, but only for 22 yards, no passing touchdowns. I don't know. You guys have any takeaways on this one? I feel like I don't want to short Weber State, but when you play a D2 school, there's not too much I want to get into, I guess.
There's a few things that I want to touch on, a positive and a negative. Their offense still looked really underwhelming against Western Oregon. It was not a dominant performance offensively. Now you look at the score and they won 41-5. So maybe they just didn't care. Maybe they're just kind of coasting. They don't want to show everything. They got Utah State next week. But I mean, offensively speaking, they didn't march down the field at will. It was slow. It was methodical. But defensively,
they had more rushing yards than passing yards. They had 13 more rushing yards than passing yards.
Yeah.
Which is unheard of in today's game. For even some triple option teams, it feels like, because they get those big gap plays.
It feels like it, but this is one thing that is really impressive. I don't care what level of team you're playing, if they're NAIA, D2, D3. They held Western Oregon to 3 rushing yards. Now, on the FCS stats page, it says like -31, but it was 24 rushes, 3 total yards, 0.1 yards a rush. So I don't care who you are. If you fall forward 24 times, you're getting more than 3 yards. So that is stinking impressive. So that's my one. Like the offense still looks not great, but the defensive line looks better than last year. The defense looks extremely good. Because you can literally fall forward and get more than 3 yards. Don't even run, just fall forward. QB sneak, you're getting at least a first down in the whole game. But yeah, Weber State's defense, just their front 7 absolutely murdered them.
Yeah, on the Big Sky's website, it has them at -34 yards.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. It's on
I
ESPN.
think
It says 3
Sacks.
I was going to say,
sacks.
my guess is they're taking out the sacks because in college sacks
Yeah.
count against your rushing numbers, where in the NFL
Gotcha.
they count against your
Correct.
pass.
So ESPN's
Correct.
wrong. So maybe they had minus 31 rushing yards
I
on the
mean,
game.
Yeah, I have it at negative 1.3 yards a carry. They gained 22 yards, but they lost 40 something.
That's
So,
insane.
I mean,
Yeah.
when you hold their leading rusher, I look at it right. Leading rusher had 7 yards. If you're watching, you would have seen my face at one point.
Yeah.
Like go in and go, what in the world, and look shocked. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's impressive.
Yeah,
you do
no
that.
matter the competition.
And
right?
they lost their best defensive lineman.
True.
So-
Carlos.
So you do that. Like you said, I don't care who it's against. Like,
Yeah.
that's just you're physical and you're going to bully teams. And that's the attitude they want to play with. It's really easy in these games not to be the more physical team because you just don't care, right? So that's what I take away from this is Weber State's out here just to try to kick teeth in when they play football from the defensive side of things. If their defense stays healthy, Big Sky schools are in trouble. So I don't care what you do on offense. Have fun with that defense.
I agree. We'll learn more about Weber State as the season goes along. So let's move into the next game. Arizona or Northern Arizona went to Arizona State down in Tempe. Kind of a fun little matchup there for them. 40-3 Sun Devils. This one did feel a little bit like a letdown for me. I mean, it's hard to say that when like you're going against a Power 5 opponent. Like there shouldn't be such thing as a letdown outside of like an 80 score game. But I'm like, I really thought NAU might give the Sun Devils some kind of trouble. They gave them zero trouble.
I told you. I called this last week. As much of turmoil as Arizona State is in, there's a reason they have been a sexy pick to win the Pac-12 South for the last couple of years. It's because of the amount of talent they have on that team. I don't care if their whole team also is trying to commit mutiny and half the coaches might go to jail or things like that. Yes, look into that. It's kind of a fun time there in Tempe. Herm Edwards season. They got Emory Jones at quarterback, who was an average SEC quarterback. An average SEC quarterback is going to tear apart a Big Sky defense. So, Arizona State's just bigger, faster, stronger. I mean, I'm not surprised. And also, NAU is great at beating teams that are worse than them, and they're terrible versus teams that are better than them. Great example of this right here.
Yeah. Tyler?
I didn't think this was that shocking at all. I mean, when we went on the NAU podcast, bless Casey's heart, right? Casey's such a nice guy. He said he thinks this was going to be a frisky. They have a shot. And I looked at him and went, not one shot, not one chance. I thought this was going to be a blowout, 37 points losing to Arizona State, who, yes, there's tons of turmoil like Boatman's saying, but they were a bowl team last year. They had 7 wins. It's not like this is a Cal. It's not like this is an Arizona from last year that NAU beat. They're a much more talented roster. So I was kind of a little bit bummed to see how bad RJ Martinez looked. Really couldn't get anything moving. I was hoping at least you could see like some successful plays, some successful drives to put at least some positivity towards it. That's the only thing where I look at this game and I was like, it is kind of a bummer because I didn't see really anything positive. The running game looked really bad. Their quarterback play looked really bad. But again, it's Arizona State, and I didn't think it was going to be competitive. So, it's just kind of a bummer. I was expecting a little bit more from the offense. The defense actually played a little better than I thought it was. I really thought maybe NAU would have scored 17 and lost 50, 60. So they held them to 40, but that could be because it was so not competitive. They just kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit.
It's Zach Hill season in Tempe.
Yeah.
I'll say like my takeaways from this game that are trying to like get away from what everybody else said. Everybody was very high on Kevin Daniels, I think, going into this year. Drayson Hall kind of had not the majority of the carries, but I think made the most of his carries. I mean, everybody else averages like 1 yard a carry, and Drayson's averaging 7. He only got 2 for 14. But I just remember going in the last season, there was a lot of talk about Hall. And then they got Daniels, and Daniels kind of, took the rock. So maybe this becomes more of a running back by committee thing, because I remember Jason Hall just being this quick, really fun guy to watch. And I was curious why he kind of fell off. Could just be I don't know. Like you said, he probably got the garbage time snaps. But
well, Daniels got the majority of the snaps.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is Drayson only got 2, but then he was their leading rusher with 2 snaps. Kevin Daniels had 11 snaps and only got 12 yards. So that's where I'm like, can Drayson Hall find his way back into kind of the backfield? I think going into this year, everybody thought that Daniels had won that job. I think looking at this game, if you're an NAU fan, you go, well, maybe we'd like to see a little bit more Drayson Hall. But that was my take. That, and he did catch 3 out of the backfield, 2 for 3.
Yeah.
Which makes him tied for second on the team for receptions.
Ugh.
So if you're actually looking for a player of the game for NAU, at least on the offensive side of the ball, it probably was Drayson Hall.
Yeah.
Then the other one was Hendricks Johnson. He's kind of been a Big Sky crush of mine for a while. I really like him as a player. I know that he kind of got shafted by Arizona State in the recruiting process, wanted to go there, I believe. It's one of the 2 Arizona schools, but I'm pretty confident it was Arizona State. And they chose a different guy who they kind of been like rivals all throughout high school. And they took him, who was not even there anymore. He's at like Florida or Mississippi State or something. And then so he's at, NAU. I'm sure they probably called and said, hey, Hendricks, do you want to transfer? And I could be wrong on this, right? But like, you probably have an opportunity to move in. But it's sticking with NAU. I would have loved to see him at least have like one of those Cooper Cup type performances where like, even when they didn't beat like Oregon, but like, he was giving his all, and like you could tell, like that's one player who wants to win, or like Vernon Adams against Washington, where it's like the team lost, but there's that one guy you can point to, but that guy tried his hardest to put the whole team on his back. I would have loved to see that kind of game from Hendricks, and it just didn't seem like they're scheming to him. So, that kind of sucks. But any final takeaways for this Arizona State NAU game?
Nope.
On to the next one. We kind of talked about it, so we can probably make this one quick. Portland State losing 17-21 on the road in San Jose. Kyler, what did you think about this game? You were kind of going into it a bit there earlier.
Yeah, I thought it was a good game for Portland State. I think they did to San Jose State what probably the top half of the Big Sky would do regularly, because I don't have a lot of faith in San Jose State. But I mean, Portland State has this history of going toe-to-toe with all these FBS teams and then not being able to be successful in the Big Sky. So it's a weird thing. When I see these types of scores from Portland State, when I see how hard they played, I go, yeah, it's what I expect of Portland State against these types of teams. But I mean, it was overall a good game. Portland State probably even should have won it. That's kind of the one thing that makes me a little turned off by it. It's because they actually should have won it. They were leading at the very end.
San Jose State scored a touchdown with 1 minute and 11 seconds left.
And so I mean, I don't know. It was a fun game. Portland State fans should hold their head up high. Their players should be excited about what's to come. But it's still a long season. But yeah, I thought they played solid. I'll say that. I thought they played solid, but I'm bummed they couldn't come away with a win, because watching the game, I was like, Portland State looks like they're just better than San Jose State.
Yep. Bowen, what are your thoughts on the old Vikings versus the Spartans? You think those guys ever duked it out back in the day? The actual Vikings and the actual Spartans?
I don't know.
Maybe. I'm not that down on my when the Vikings quit being Vikings history, but they might have had some overlap with the Greeks.
I don't know about that. My takeaway is the name of San Jose State Stadium is CEFCU Stadium, home of the Spartans. So that's fun. That's their stadium name, by the way. We got the quarterback answer here from Portland State. It's not one of the other 11 guys on the roster that we did a fantasy draft on who we would take, because there's that many guys. Chevin Cordero is the heir apparent to Davis Alexander. So he did pretty well. I mean, 239 yards passing. San Jose State, though, is a bottom. They're 113th in ESPN FPI, and they're 103 in Sagarin. So they're a bottom 25 team in FBS. This is where Portland State thrives in these weird games somehow. only for them to go play Washington next week and probably get the doors beat off by Michael Penix Jr. I gotta say his name again, by the way. I love this. I mean, you have your Portland State. If there's such a thing as not an actual victory, but why am I blanking here? What's that called?
Moral.
What is it? Moral victory.
Moral victory.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems wrong. I don't know why.
Because it's not real.
Been a long day. So I guess this is, you're happy. You can compete. They're probably going to beat some teams in the Big Sky that they shouldn't, and they're going to lose the teams they shouldn't. That's just Portland State, and they're here to stay. Even post Davis Alexander. That's what I have.
Yeah, I did do some Google. They were separated by about 800 years. So yeah,
pretty close.
They never sparked it up in the old arena of battle in real life. But yeah, no, I agree. I think this was a good game. Like, I think it shows the best parts of the Big Sky. Big Sky doesn't have any scalps this year. This was a legit shot to get a scalp. I think it showed that Portland State might not be too different without Davis Alexander. So not to echo too much of what Boatman just said, but I think it shows this team might be okay and be similar to what they were with or without Davis. The most important part, of course, is Dante Chichuri got all the snaps, which I believe, Boatman, that was your quarterback.
Oh, wow. I said Chevin Cordero. I looked at San Jose State. I apologize. I am wrong. I misread. I was like, that doesn't seem right. That seems like the old Hawaii quarterback. What am I reading? I mean, yeah, Dante Chichuri threw 270 yards passing. Great. Yeah. That was my quarterback. I win. You had Mike Wilcox
Mike Irwin Jr.
Mike Irwin Sr. the fifth. Yeah. I'll take Dante Chichuri.
Yeah, but that was 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. So who knows? Maybe next week we might get some Mike Irwin Sr. On to the next one. Cal Poly 7, Fresno State 35. This one was, I guess I thought they played better than I thought they would. Heck, Fresno State, I think a worse Fresno, maybe I won't go that far. I was going to say a worse Fresno State beat Idaho 63-7.
I don't want to talk about it.
I know you don't, but we have to.
Actually, wait a minute. No, hold on. That was actually a weirdly fun game in a different kind of way.
Because didn't you get a tackle or something?
No, mainly because Cade Coffey and I, halfway through the second quarter, just gave up all hope on everything. Just kind of it was like a dark comedy. The game became a dark comedy. And so we just kind of rolled with it, especially when we gave up 2 block field goals. That was fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, Cal Poly put up a better fight than Idaho did in 2018. Mm-hmm. But didn't somebody else play Fresno State last year too and got beat by worse than this? I feel like Fresno State usually does do a pretty dang good at usually beating up on Big Sky teams.
Fresno State is solid.
Yeah.
That Fresno State team last year was better though than this year's Fresno State team.
But when we're talking about Cal Poly being bottom 3, I think most people would objectively say Cal Poly coming into the year was viewed as a bottom 3 team by most pundits. That's not a bottom 3 performance. There's a couple teams I think had worse performances this week than Cal Poly.
Yeah, and what's really impressive is because Cal Poly, we have made fun of their defense ever since Bo Baldwin took it over, right? Mm-hmm. You could score 70 on Cal Poly. Outside of the first quarter, they held Fresno State to just 14 points in 3 quarters. Right? They got shellacked in the very beginning of the game where I think they were just kind of dumbfounded on what to do. And then all of a sudden they started clicking. They got their touchdown. They held them scoreless in the second quarter. Then really the third and fourth, it's Cal Poly looks so much better than what I thought they were. Still, it's not a great looking performance because of the scoreboard. But this is one of those deceptively games where you're watching it and you go, okay, they're starting to actually do some Bo Baldwin plays that you used to see at Eastern. Some really weird, funky, let's go for it on 4th and long, which they shouldn't have, right? I saw all of those when Bo Baldwin was there. We're on the 30-yard line, 70 to go. It's 4th and 18. We decided to chuck it down the field. It's not smart, You probably shouldn't do that against Fresno State. There was a couple of coaching issues and errors that I think happened. But overall, I think you're starting to see the confidence in this team. You're starting to see that Bo Baldwin is getting some of his own recruits. I thought their defense played pretty good, and their offense for who they played much better than the last 2.5 years under, the spread where Bo Baldwin was trying to take it from triple option to spread down the field, throw it all around the playground. So overall, if I'm a Cal Poly fan, I'm excited. This still isn't your year, right? You're not winning the Big Sky. You're not being competitive versus the top tier teams in the Big Sky. But if I'm Cal Poly and saw what we did in the spring and in the fall, this should get every fan super excited. You at least were competitive in 3 quarters versus Fresno State, who is not a bad Mountain West team. This is not playing UNLV.
Yeah. You had 5 times in an offense that isn't big on rushing. You had 5 times more rushing yards than Western Oregon did against Weaver.
There you go. They fell forward more.
I don't have much to say about that. I agree with you. You're starting to see it. You've got receivers that have got some chunkier yard totals. You've got a quarterback that's completing over 50% of his passes, getting over the 200-yard mark, things that have been slowly ticking together to show that there has been progress made. And then if anything, I think you look at Fresno State, it's a 166-yard difference, yes, between Jake Heiner and Jaden Jones, but Jake Heiner is a former Power 5 football recruit, if you're Cal Poly, this is a win. It's not a win. It's a moral victory. That sounds wrong. A moral victory.
Why are their morals better? You gotta think about it. What makes them a better person, better team? I don't know.
Living in San Luis Obispo.
That you are correct.
Yeah,
because Fresno sucks.
Exactly.
That's one where you leave the stadium and you go, yeah, but you still live in Fresno.
Oh yeah, all the Cal Poly fans in the game should have been like, at least we don't live in Fresno.
Yeah,
Jake Haener, the Fresno State quarterback's the real deal. He almost left the team this offseason and almost transferred back to Washington. Ran into some weird credit eligibility, weird stuff. But Jake Haener, the quarterback, is the real deal. If you're Cal Poly, you can't be too upset. I mean, I hold them to 21, and it seems like the doors beat off of them early start there in the first quarter, but then things kind of held pat, 21-7, down 2 scores at half, and then only let up 2 touchdowns in each quarter. Mm-hmm. It's not terrible. Like we said, this might be usually you get to year 4 is kind of when you start seeing things turn in a program, maybe even give Bo Baldwin a 5th year on that because of the transformation from triple option to not. So we're in year 3. Let's see what happens.
Yep. All right, let's move on. This one, 40-17, Montana State over McNeese State. If you want to know a ton about this game, check out the R and R CatCast guys. All in all, I'll just say started slow, tied at halftime, which is not what you're used to in a Gold Rush game for Montana State.
They were up 7. They were up 7.
A half? Were they?
It says 17-10.
Maybe. It was way too close at halftime. They blew them out in the second half. So they righted the ship in the second half. So I guess that's where you go, all right, this is what we thought McNeese. And that's also McNeese with a brand new coach. So you have no game film. Yeah, see what they throw at you, and then you come in the second half, finally get more than a couple minutes with the guys, and you go, here's what they do on defense, here's what they do on offense. Let's go blow the pants off them in the second half, and that's what they did. Anybody else?
My biggest win of the weekend was Montana State, so I kind of talked about it already.
Yeah, it was impressive to see their true freshman running back. I mean, he played lights out. Malott, he had some really impressive throws, but still some 50-50 balls versus one of the weakest passing defenses in the FCS. So if he's throwing like that against some of the, a Weber State, probably going to get some interceptions. So there's things that Montana State needs to clean up. But overall, I mean, they dominated at least the second half. The first half was a little too close, but they were able to just put their weight on him, put some pressure on, and just kind of absolutely wore him down. The old North Dakota State model of, all right, we're just going to keep trying to run it down your throat. And if you can't keep up, you're going to be left in the dust. And that's what that true freshman running back was doing. So it was pretty impressive watching him play. It made me nervous.
It is impressive. Lane Sumner, 24 attempts, 176 yards.
He
And
could
we
have had
go,
200
okay,
easily.
well, maybe he'll get banged up, right? And like Afonso won't come back. Well, then Jared White had 7 rushes for 89 yards. And then Tommy Millott rushed the ball 16 times for 44 yards. Like, this team is going to get yards on the ground. I mean, they always have. They're going to continue to do it.
They're the non-triple option rushing option team.
Well, they're off the Vegans off the North Dakota State coaching tree. So that's exactly what you're going to get from them. Montana, 47-zip over Northwestern State. The Devils, Demons. The Demons?
Demons.
Yeah, the Demons.
Great color scheme, by the way. Big fan.
Purple and orange.
I mean, it's unique. It's unique.
I like it.
Yeah.
Clemson, Virginia.
Yeah,
Virginia's blue.
Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech
is it's burgundy and orange. Don't get it twisted. It's not purple at all.
Okay, all right.
I don't want to get into this. Okay?
Anywho.
I don't want to get into this.
They played one of the weaker teams in the Southland, but they did what you're supposed to do. I mean, I thought HBU was. So now I'm starting to scratch my head a little bit.
I guess, yeah, fair point.
But I mean, Northwestern State's not a good team, but sometimes when you're playing these not good teams, you can still evaluate how the game's going. You can see how good another team is, even if they're playing a trash team. Montana looks the part. Their defense is ridiculously scary. It even looks better than last year. Again, I'll wait to press judgment until I see them versus maybe a much better team. But then offensively, they got the transfer from South Dakota or San Diego State, who was 8-1 as a quarterback, grad transfer. He looked the part. He was very accurate. It looks like they actually have a quarterback, and that's kind of what's been missing for the last few years. I know they love to say Dalton Sneed was really good. I thought he was a below half quarterback in the Big Sky. That's just me. So looking at this kid, I think he's a stud. Montana looks scary. Knight is back. He looks scary. This is the scariest team in the Big Sky. Offensively, defensively, special teams. You just don't want to play Montana this year.
Yeah, we all play Montana this year.
And there's only 2 of us, but yeah, I get it.
True. Yeah, big game. And then obviously the big one is I for all my worries, I feel confident, even though it's Northwestern State, saying all my worries about the quarterback position are pretty much gone. I mean, you could tell, it's a whatever, but the way he was shredding that team, he's at least an upper tier Big Sky quarterback. He might not be the best, but we'll see when he could end up being. I'm not saying he's not, right? But Montana should be fine this year unless they get in their own way or the injury bug bites him in just the most unprecedented way possible. Another big Pac-12 Big Sky game. Cal Berkeley, 34-13. UC Davis in this one for me came out hot. I mean, they were sacking Plummer left and right. They look good. Alonzo Gilliam also had a pretty big game.
Shout out to him for breaking the school record for career rushing yards.
I missed that part.
I think the first drive or something like that. So it was something like that. But shout out to Alonzo Gilliam, the number 1 rusher in UC Davis history.
The game started. They were that team that looked very, very good. End of the first quarter, they're up 7-0.
Yeah.
They looked very, very good. And then I think it was one of those where Cal scores 8 minutes in the second. Then they score with 2 minutes in the second. Now they're behind. They get the ball back on a dumb pick. And then it's halftime, they're down 10. And then I think after halftime, they just didn't have the horses to really make the comeback feel real. But like literally going into the closing minutes of halftime, you're like, UC Davis is in this game. And then adjustments were made, and UC Davis just didn't have an answer for playing catch up. They had an answer for staying ahead. But I was impressed by this. I guess is what I'm saying. Lan Larson, the Idaho kid that's from the state of Idaho, from Caldwell, I believe, had a pretty good game rushing the ball. Alonzo Gilliam had a great day rushing the ball. Mm-hmm. Maybe we're looking at the next Weber State, Montana State type. We like to run the ball down your throats thing. And then Miles Hastings, I know the UC Davis guys correct us a lot for not knowing that he was the starter on our preview pod. I guess 32 for 50, 242 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks isn't the worst stat line in the world. But, I mean, maybe you open it up. I don't know. I don't know enough yet about the UC Davis passing situation. But all in all, I think it's a solid performance for Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. They did. Cal is arguably maybe the worst Pac-12 team. I think it's safe to assume that they're up there.
No.
You don't think so?
Have you heard of the Colorado Buffaloes?
Yeah,
that is true, but I always forget about them because I still don't think of them as Pac-12.
Have you heard of the Colorado Buffaloes?
True. Well, Cal is the second worst.
Cal is a bottom 3 Pac-12 team. But
there you go. So, but I mean, it's still a Pac-12 team, right? At the end of the day, it's still a Pac-12 team. I thought
with
UC
a good
Davis,
coach.
Yeah, a really good coach. I thought UC Davis played good, not great, not bad, probably better than what most people expected, but also I don't think anyone is shocked to see this type of performance. Alonzo Gilliam is really trying to earn that, MVP player of the year, especially with Afonso out the whole month. So, he's got his way to put on some stats to really, clear the gap. Overall, yeah, they play tough. I'm excited to see how they look against South Dakota State because I don't think they're going to look as tough. But I mean, yeah, UC Davis, they played about what we could have hoped for. Definitely not bad, not a bad performance at all, not a great performance, a very solid performance.
I would say UC Davis gave it the old college try. And no matter what, the real winner here is the University of California. They were always going to win this game.
Yeah.
And lose it.
Well, I'm a glass half full kind of guy, Chris.
For those of you who aren't aware of who UC Davis is, they're under the California banner.
There's the University of California at Davis going to the University of California at Berkeley as they are known because that's what they really are. This is pretty much just a war of attrition. Like Cal just kind of grinded it out and ended up, you look up at the end of the ball game and somehow they won by 3 scores. I think that's kind of best way to describe this game. Davis wasn't bad, but Cal just was able just to out-talent them. And, Dan Hawk, great, actually really underrated head coaching matchup here. I am a pro Justin Wilcox guy. I think Cal's a really tough place to coach and recruit to. What?
You just give me so much crap for liking a couple ex-Bronco coaches. And you just go on air and just
like ex-Bronco players.
Yeah,
that's
different
from the state of Idaho.
Gross.
I don't care. Like,
all right.
I don't care. You being a Bronco player, it's different.
You just give me so much flack for that all the time, and then you just like, oh, I love Justin Wilcox.
No, because you want them to coach at because you want them to coach at Idaho. That's the difference. I never said I want Justin Wilcox to coach at Idaho. So
me either.
Exactly. No, but I mean, I think it's just war of attrition. Cal grinded it out. They need this game to. They're going to be trying to push to 6 wins, so that's why it was really important to them.
It was also the tied for coldest game that was played this weekend at 76 degrees, which is funny when you're
the Bay is the Bay gets cold.
Everybody else other than Montana was at 84. Everybody else is 90s to 100 until Eastern says 76. But I thought Kelsey was saying it was like closer to 100 that day too. But
no, it was supposed to be really hot. And then the rain and storms brought in kind of a quick cold front, and it cooled down by the game.
I didn't even look at the Idaho game. It was 70, so actually Idaho.
Perfect segue.
Yeah. But, I got one thing. I'll cover that when we get to the Idaho game then, I guess. That's a better time to cover it. Tennessee State at Eastern Washington, 76 degrees in good old Rouge Field. 3,932 people.
Mm-hmm.
Kyler, you think that's just because enough people didn't know how much fun it probably would be to watch this game?
I also think it's no one's in school yet.
Yeah.
Cheney's dead when it's still a month away from kids coming in. It is what it is. That's why typically it's not sad.
That's such a great game.
Yeah, it was such a fun game. But I mean, attendance has dropped off the last few years. Then you have a team where it's unfortunate. No one really knows who Tennessee State is if you're not, from the South, from the East Coast, or an FCS fan in general, not just like a Big Sky fan.
Or an Eddie George fan.
Or an HBCU.
Your big Titans or
the Spokane area does not know who Tennessee State is. But also, you don't have school in session. That's always going to hurt attendance. There's a WSU game. There's a UW game. There's all these other games that people just rather watch. It is what it is. Hopefully, during the regular season when Montana State comes in just a few weeks, hopefully we have the ability to fill up Roos. But yeah, it's a sad look to only have 3,900 kids.
I didn't mean it was like a sad look. I meant it was just sad because, like, I think as an Eastern fan, like, maybe it's just because I have the knowledge that I have. I'm like, man, like, what a fun game this would have been to be at. Yeah, and I think I was wondering if it was more, that people just were apathetic, or it was like people just didn't know who Tennessee State was, or because I'm like, man, I was like, if Idaho wasn't playing, like, this is a game I would have considered like flying into Spokane for, because like we've talked about like how hot we think Tennessee State might be this year, kind of getting to see them test their mettle on the red. Like, this was like a game that maybe we let down the public and not hyping this game enough is like a really good week one game.
And it was such a fun game to actually watch. If you watched it, it was entertaining if you were a fan of either team or not a fan of either one. It's just a really entertaining game. You got to see a lot of talent on the field, a lot of big plays, some speed, some physicality, some defensive big stops, some offensive crazy, insane plays. There was something for everyone in this game. So kind of my game takeaway, though. I mean, Eastern looks a lot like they did last year, surprisingly. Where they struggled last year, they're still struggling, stopping the run. Where they were good last year, they're still good. Throwing the ball, playing offense. Special teams look better. We did miss a kick, but overall, the special teams, it didn't seem like it was a burden for us. We were, tackling people on special teams, not giving up 80-yard plays, kicking downfield well, punting well. So I was happy with everything besides the run defense, and it is what it is. That's when I was doing my Eastern preview. I was like, well, we have 3 brand new linebackers that I don't know what to expect. I have no clue if they're going to be good, better, worse. No clue. That's the biggest question mark. It's just week one. We still have quite a bit of time to answer some of those questions, but right now doesn't look promising for the run defense. And the Big Sky is a very rushing first conference now. So that makes me a little nervous, but Gunnar Talkington, what can we say about that kid? He was quicker than I remember. Yeah. Holy crap. He was fast, 60 yards on the ground on just 9 carries. And they're all just, hey, the wide receiver wasn't open. I'm just going to make a play for myself. He was dodging. He was physical. He didn't mind taking a hit. And then Efton Chisholm, Freddie Roberson, I mean, they were catching insane balls. I was overall really happy with the performance. Not a lot of negativity besides the rushing defense. I was really happy.
Yeah, my only critique for Talkington would be, I think he left his knee pads in the locker.
Hey, there's a running back from, who is it? It's another big team that I just saw online, and he has the same shorts. And I was like, see, it's just you need to be a good running back.
You're even calling them shorts.
They're shorts
anymore.
I guess a question, like where would you put Tennessee State in the Big Sky, right? Like, who are they better than? Who are they worse than?
I put them right in between, anywhere in the middle tier. From like, I don't think most of the Big Sky has a speed and talent that Tennessee State does. Now, I'm not saying Tennessee State is better than those Big Sky teams, if that makes sense. But speed, talent on the roster, they would be up at the top of the Big Sky in just that aspect. But in terms of just overall team, discipline and everything, I'd put them in between a Portland State and an NAU.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like they would swap one of those two out.
Yeah, they'd be right in the middle of the Big Sky.
Out. They would be that like third tier. They would be like, you have your Montana States that are probably going challenging for a national title. Yeah. Your Weavers, Sacks, Easterns, UC Davises that are potential playoff contenders. And then I'd say those are your 3 playoff spoilers. And then you have your 2 dark horses, and then you have your trash.
So you put them in like the Idaho,
Portland State, Idaho, NAU.
Okay,
I'd put them above Idaho. Yeah,
honestly, I'm saying in that tier. If we were to tier the Big Sky into 4 tiers, which
I think the segregant ranking is very off on them.
Yeah,
they took a big jump. They took a big jump forward last year under Eddie George, and that really wasn't, his players. He's the transfer portal is great if you're a brand new coach. That is a very notoriety head coach. Let's just say, especially at an HBCU, you can get talent instantly with the portal. So,
Eddie
yeah.
George walks into a living room, you tend to listen.
I give credit to them.
Who do you listen to
fast.
more, Dion or Eddie George? Anyway,
Yeah.
No, I guess I was just trying to kind of figure out, and I think
It
that
might be
kinda
more. Where do your parents want you to go? To
I
Dion
kind of think
or
that
Eddie
kind of
George?
sits. I kind of think that kind of where we maybe fell with our Eastern predictions for the year. I think it seems pretty spot on to where we see maybe Eastern fall in terms of win-loss record, like 7-4, 6-5, that area. Okay.
Yeah. So let's talk about the blowout. Houston Baptist 46, Northern Colorado 34.
Houston Baptist is so bad.
Yeah, this is bad.
Well, what's really funny about this is the score makes it seem like it was a closer game. Houston Baptist was throttling them until Mr. Ed took out son McCaffrey.
Mm-hmm.
Once Dylan came out of the game, Northern Colorado had life. The second string quarterback played so much better than Dylan.
Jacob Sherman's the backup quarterback at Northern Colorado.
Yeah, and he went 22 for
That
33.
name haunts me as a Washington fan, by the way.
Yeah.
So
he's 250 yards, call it. He was one short. 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Dylan McCaffrey was 15 for 24, 176 yards, with 55 of those coming on one play. So, Sermon came in, and it looked like an entirely different Northern Colorado. I think, ladies and gentlemen, we have a 2018-19 Idaho Vandal type squad on our hands here. There might be a quarterback controversy that might not go anywhere because of last names on the jerseys and under the headsets.
What are you talking about?
Something like that. I don't remember.
Boy, Northern Colorado's bad, huh? Glad they're our homecoming. Can't wait.
Glad they're our last game of the year. If it's we're on that verge of being a playoff team, we got Northern Colorado at the end of the year. I'm happy.
So I'm only going to ask this because we're not going to cover week 0 games. Kyler, we did the preview of Northern Colorado and Idaho State.
Yeah.
And after it, we talked about how looking at Northern Colorado's roster, we were like, we might have
oversold.
Think that Idaho State's going to be good because Northern Colorado looks significantly better than them. And Cal Poly looks better than them. So they're definitely last place. Northern Colorado might be the best of those 3 bottom teams. Do we still feel that way? Or Idaho State's performance against UNLV maybe make them feel – they were okay for 5 drives against UNLV.
Yeah, but
UNC was not good at all against Houston Baptist at home. First game of the year.
Hey, throw out the record books when the Huskies come to town.
4,000.
You can never prep for Houston Baptist.
They were 600.
The ghost of the long grass of Greeley.
600 more people were in Greeley, Colorado than Cheney, Washington this week to watch 2 of the worst teams in the FCS.
But it was an entertaining game.
Dave didn't think that. Yeah,
only at the end. It's actually only entertaining at the end. The rest of the game was like, Houston Baptist is murdering them.
Yeah, first quarter and
points. Hopefully, you're there if you had the over.
Maybe bet the over on every single Northern Colorado.
I don't know who's. So the question, I guess, is who's worse, Idaho State or Northern Colorado?
After week 1, overreaction Tuesday.
Northern Colorado. That was hard to say.
I actually kind of agree because I think maybe not on paper, but I think in spirit, Idaho State is going to fight in a lot more games this year than Northern Colorado is.
Yeah.
Tyler?
I think they're just both so bad. I don't know if I can pick one.
Chris,
play each other?
You have us losing to Idaho State still, Chris?
No.
Well, I mean, I know we kind of talk about Sagarin sometimes, right? Northern Colorado is 220 out of 261. Okay,
that seems high.
Idaho State's 200. They're the 2 worst teams in the Big Sky and Sagarin by far.
Yeah.
So I mean, actually not by far. Cal Poly's 192, but. Again, it's just like the bottom 3 are just like there. So, yeah. God, this team's bad.
All right. Well, let's move on to
real quick. They do have the better. If Jacob Sherman does play, they have a better quarterback.
Agree.
So,
We'll still go with them.
Back to better quarterback. Sorry.
Yeah. Let's go with the surprise game of the week. The Idaho Vandals, 17-24 against the Washington State Cougars in the 92nd Battle of the Palouse. Boatman, we'll sandwich the egg between us. How about that? You can start it.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know where to start. If you had told me that Giovanni McCoy has 3 less passing yards than Cam Ward, who's in the air raid offense, I would have laughed at you. The biggest loser of the weekend is Cam Ward because, boy, wow.
And not even that bad. 3 touchdowns, though. No picks.
Our secondary is not good. They look good on Saturday, but that's our weak spot. That's one of our weak spots. One of our 2 biggest weak spots. O-line play, secondary. One of those got exposed. The O-line got exposed by Wazoo's front 7. But we were able to run the ball well. I was pretty happy with that. Anthony Woods is a stud. Love that, like that kid as a freshman. I liked some of our play calls. I think if we have slightly better quarterback play and slightly better O-line play, Idaho wins that game. It's crazy to say. Clearly this coaching staff was not happy with their quarterbacks throughout spring ball because they still went after multiple quarterbacks during spring ball, both of which did not win their starting jobs at their respective FBS schools. But hey, have fun sitting on the bench, Jeff Undercuffler at Akron when he could have been starting in Idaho. How much better would this Idaho team be with Jeff Undercuffler? Would they probably have won this game?
After seeing him play week 1? I don't know, actually. He did not look great.
I thought he didn't play at Akron.
He was benched.
There you go. There's your answer.
He's a backup.
Yeah.
But I mean, is he better than – I don't know. I mean, we talked about Jabari Gibbs being the backup, right? Giovanni McCoy, we told you to put the house on it. He was. But, hey, this Idaho team has fight. This Idaho team looks fun. Jason X just laughing on the sideline, just having a good old time. It is a complete 180 from what we saw for the last better part of a decade. Weird to say that, but I think the Idaho Vandals are a fun place to be at right now. Even if they're going to not win too many games this year, they're going to have fun. And something's brewing in the dome.
Kyler?
Yeah, here's one thing I'll say, and then I'll kind of review a little bit of the game. But if you're an Idaho fan, just please stop on the Twitter sphere thinking you're going to win the Big Sky. That's what we've seen.
Are people saying that?
Oh, they're there was we should be top 25, and then they're like, oh, we should be at the top of the Big Sky. We're gonna win. I'm like, pipe down.
Kyler, we were released from a bond that has been just like a dark aura in the East Wing of the Kiwi Dome for the last 9 years. Okay, I think it's the feel good factor.
It's a feel good factor, and here's what I'll say about the game: an amazing, impressive performance from Idaho. Here's just when I watch this game, you could just tell there's a different energy, a different aurora with this team. They seem like they're willing to play. They seem like they're getting after it. I think WSU just didn't look good. I mean, Idaho looked good defensively. They were physical, but there was something about WSU where they just did not look good at all.
Wazoo's bad. They're not
they
good.
Looked really bad, but I mean, still props to Idaho. I mean, this was a bowl team last year in Wazoo. They had a really strong defense, really bad offense. Wazoo did not have a good offense last year, and I think it's translating to this year, even with Cam Ward. It's way too early to tell. It's only one game. We can't have these crazy overreactions. But I mean, when I watched Incarnate Word just this last week, I don't think Incarnate Word's missing Cam Ward, which is crazy to think. So maybe it was just Incarnate Word and being in the Southland and having those elite receivers that was making Cam Ward look as good as he did, because they did something that Cam Ward and Incarnate Word couldn't do to Southern Illinois last week. So, I mean, I don't know what I think about WSU. All I'll know is there seems to at least be this energy about Idaho. And if he can improve the O-lines, he's an O-line guy. He's going to improve the O-lines. He's going to get tight ends involved eventually. And I'm talking about Eck. Right, he's going to follow that kind of model that he made super successful at South Dakota State. Get tight ends, be physical on the line, run the ball, and then have a quarterback that's capable. You don't need to have a super stud. You need to have a capable quarterback. And I think they have most of the pieces in place. It's just going to maybe take another year of recruiting before you can finally see it all into place. But I like the energy that Idaho has. It just feels like a completely different team. They're going to be, I still think they'll lose the majority of their games, but I think they're going to be in battles all season long. Idaho's not a team that you're just going to look at a schedule and go, oh, I don't care if I'm playing Idaho. This is a win. They're not that team anymore. They're going to give you a battle. They're going to give you hell. I just don't think they have the talent in place yet to excel to that extra level under Eck. I think Eck wants a few different pieces around him. And then Idaho fans, then you can start chirping online. But until you can't chirp about winning conferences after a loss. I don't care who the loss is to.
Yeah, I agreed. Not to pile on too much here. I'm just going to be like, I think Idaho definitely had Lady Luck on her side a lot on Saturday. I mean, the ball bounced our way a lot. I mean, we went for it on 4th and 8 in our own 28 or whatever it was, and throw like a 53-yard ball to keep some of these. We had a lot of things that I'm like, oh my God, we went for it on 4th down, 6 or 7 times. So I don't want to see that all season. I get it. It's Power 5, first game out, nothing to lose. So I'm not saying I think X is going to do this against like a close game against like NAU. But all in all, exactly. The aura was 1,000% different. Even bad calls went his way. What Vandal fans are used to is blurring of the mouth, basically, on the sideline when the cameras shoot the head coach. Now they shoot the head coach. Bad call goes his way, and he just laughs about it.
He's smiling. He's having.
He's just like, "Oh, okay, that's fine. We'll give him the 15 yards." It's like that was cool to see. I just want to touch on this one as it's the last Power 5 or the Pac-12 game. If you are some of these schools, and I was at the game, I loved it. It was super fun. We're going to start. We play them 3 more times before 2030. It goes back to basically every 2 years, except we have 3 in between the next one, which is great. Perfect. I think it's the right amount of time to play the Cougs. But I think for this game, you look at the attendance number. Martin Stadium was like 73% full. You look at the Northern Arizona State game. It was like 71% full. You look at the Cal UC Davis game. It had like 44,000 people, and that's not very full for Cal, but like for Cal, that's actually pretty full. I just think like if you're one of these Power 5 schools, be less afraid to schedule in-state or at least like Idaho, Wazoo, competitive quasi-rival in-state games because like Labor Day weekend is a tough crowd to get fans. Like it's no secret. Like you'll watch the UCLA game this weekend, and there was like against Bowling Green, there was probably less than all of these
5,000 people there.
Yeah, and it's like because nobody wants to watch Bowling Green, but Cougs showed out to watch the Vandals, and the Cougs would show out to watch Eastern Washington, right? Like when they played. Berkeley people went and watched the Davis game, and Davis people go down when you can bring in that's so huge, and just like being a part of the atmosphere. I always said it was only that like upper sliver of the student section that was kind of empty, and then the kind of the end zone suite thing there. I'm like, otherwise that stadium was basically sold out. There's a great picture online of I think it was the first huddle, and it's just the Cougs student section behind the Vandals, and I'm just like, that is like might be my new screensaver is like a Coug Vandal myself. I'm like, that thing was beautiful. I'm like, there was no empty seats other than the tippy top of the corners when the kickoff happened. I was going, and that is what happens when you schedule well. I get like Power 5 teams don't want this, right? They don't want 24/17 or UC Davis to give a run and going into halftime essentially. But like, you're making ticket revenue. And that's where I'd be like, I would challenge more teams to do that. Like, I don't know the next time, does Eastern have Wazoo on the schedule?
I believe so. We play them about every 5 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say like more schools should do that. Oregon State and Oregon should be scheduling Portland State, and like UC Davis, USC, UCLA, they should be scheduling like UC Davis.
USC plays Fresno State this year. I mean, Chris, I will say it's easy to say that, but as someone who works at one of these big schools with another small school in the state that's constantly clamoring for us to play them, we will never play them because it does you more harm to play them and potentially lose than it does to bring in Towson, who we bring in next Saturday from Baltimore.
In-state recruiting. If you lose, it's all no wins.
You don't want to be. It's easy. It's fun to say that as the fan, but as the school, Idaho Wazoo is different, right? Like that's a different thing. There's history there. Idaho and Wazoo have stayed scheduling. Eastern doesn't have Wazoo on the schedule I'm looking at right now. They have Washington in 26 and then 28. It looks like
that's what it was.
So I mean, and those games, right? Those Labor Day games at UW, very tough. Eastern's not going to bring a draw anyway for that. I mean, they'll bring some people over. People aren't going to go out in Seattle to watch an in-state game. They don't care. I mean, it's more like it's just you want to make sure you get your win, get the hell out of there, call it a day. From the neutral standpoint, yeah, it's fun to have these in-state games. But from the dollar standpoint, you talk about ticket revenue, it doesn't really drive the needle. You know, if we had Marshall here, sure, it might sell out, but we're selling enough, we're raising enough money. You know, we don't really care. we're gonna have Pitt. We're gonna have Pitt in here next year. We gotta go to Penn State. People are gonna buy season tickets, so we're fine. I mean, I'm just using us as an example because I think it is a great example of big schools, small schools, same state. It can do you a lot of harm if you do lose, and it's the image thing. It's really the image thing. Like if Wazoo loses this game, like
they're already upset and they won.
I mean, but some of their fans might have actually called for them to not play us again in a couple of years because of this, and that's the first game under Dickert. Like Cam Ward, the guy who's supposed to, be better than Jaden Delore. They shipped Jaden Delore to an in-conference team who just beat San Diego State handily for a guy who just didn't play that well, right?
Like, well, I could say, to my other point, just in general, like Cal Poly plays Fresno State. They're less than 4,000 people short of a sellout at that stadium. 36,000 in their stadium.
These are also announced attendances, and sometimes announced attendances can get a little finicky. Let me tell you, I know the guy who announces our attendance at WVU, and they literally ask him, "Hey, what do we want to announce?" He says a number. That's how it is. So he goes, maybe 50, even though there's 38 in the stadium.
But I'll say being at the Coug game and then watching a lot of the UC Davis game, or not the UC Davis game, the NAU Arizona State game, they were actually busy. Like that was not a fudged number. I don't know about the other ones. But anyways, moving on to the next game. Sac State, Utah Tech. They're at 56-33. I know I'm Mr. Stinger's down, so the downer in me is going to come right out and say, I said the same thing last year, though, so hold that with a grain of salt. I expect Sac State to beat a team like Dixie, Utah Tech by more than, what is that, 22 points? 24 points?
3 scores.
3 scores. That's the thing to me. That this is supposed to be a seeded playoff team versus a team that's still transitioning to the FCS.
I mean, if you look at it, though, Sac State was up, 35 to 10 at half. So, and then they were up, 49 to 19 at the end of the third quarter.
Yeah.
They only lost one quarter where they didn't score more than it was by a touchdown. They had this game in control the whole time. And Utah Tech, 339 passing yards. They're just in desperation of we have to throw the football, so we're just going to throw the football. Sac State, you put up 56 points against another FCS team. Yeah, especially the way Sac State runs their offense and the whole weird dynamic that Troy Taylor has, while only having their starting quarterback throw for 141 yards. That's pretty good. Maybe the defense though might be a little leaky, so we'll see.
Half of Utah Tech, Dixie State, whatever you want to call them, half of their points were scored in garbage time. I'll just say that the whole fourth quarter was garbage time, and that's where they got half of their points. Now, I think, I don't know. Dixie State, didn't they give some teams a little bit of issues last year? Wasn't the Sac State Dixie State game close last year?
Yeah,
they're not good. They would be the very bottom of the Big Sky, besides maybe Northern Colorado, Idaho State.
I think they're better. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think they're bottom of the Big Sky.
But I don't know. Even those two teams might beat them.
I think they beat Northern. They beat one. If they had to play Northern Colorado, Idaho State, they win one of those games.
Yeah, they probably split it. They would be with them. So, you still beat them by 33 points. Or, before garbage time. You're up by 30. That's when I'm counting this. You beat them by basically 30 points. That's how I'm looking at this. They played really good. They ran the ball extremely well. That Scatabo, whatever his name is. I mean, he had a receiving touchdown, a rushing touchdown, and a kick return.
Onside kick return.
Did you see that play?
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
It was so sweet. He had about 18 defenders on his back. I know there's not even 18 on the field.
It looked like he was going to get stopped at like the 22-yard line, and then just and like I think the announcer's even like, "Oh, he almost gets in the. Oh my God, he's still going. He gets in the end zone."
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch the rematch of UNI Sac State, because I don't know if Sac State's improved from last year. I don't think they've regressed. I think they're about the same.
Which kind of funny when you look at it. Elijah Dotson, 10 carries, 59 yards for Northern Colorado. Do you think he's instantly regretting his decision?
No, because he didn't play all last year, and I don't think he was injured. There was something with him and Taylor that, of course, this is all just speculation and no actual information. Something happened between them. I mean, they're not happy with each other. Something, because he didn't play most of the year.
I just also we're not going to go too far back into Northern Colorado. I don't have much more to say about this game.
It was a good game. Sac State looked good.
I can't wait till we're in conference schedule, and so our recap doesn't take an hour and 20 minutes because we have to cover 12 freaking teams instead of just 6 or 12 games instead of 6 games. Literally, this will be like the time mark for just a regular episode. But let's move on to previews. These should be a little bit quicker. South Dakota's Boatman, if you are able to find spreads, take them, but I doubt we'll be able to.
Nah, I don't think so. I think it means out.
We're just doing pick'ems?
Yeah, we'll just do regular old pick 'em. South Dakota State is traveling to Montana at 1:30.
No, South Dakota, not South Dakota State.
That's a state. Yeah, sorry. The Coyotes are traveling to Montana, 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time. That game will be on ESPN Plus. Give us your takes and your pick, Boatman.
South Dakota's not a bad team. They're not bad, but Montana's still going to win by 2+ scores. So, I mean, Montana has a case as a top 5 FCS team. So, this is a chance for them to show it.
Man, it's already really tough playing at Montana because they are going to Montana. South Dakota is a top 25 team or right around there. They're hovering, flirting. They're probably a playoff caliber team, but there's just a giant gap between the top 4 teams in the nation versus the bottom 5 of the top 25. And I think Montana just handles them probably by 18+, 24+.
Yeah. South Dakota, respectable performance last week against Kansas State.
Yeah.
Sort of 34-0, but like could be worse. We've seen Power 5 teams beat people by worse. Yeah. Montana should win this one easy. It just goes to show. We'll talk about the next one here in a second. Well, I guess move on to now or two, but it's just the Montana schools are just becoming the blueprint of exactly what every other athletic department, if they have the means to do, should be trying to do. They both scheduled winnable SCS games, and they're going to be 2-0 in the playoffs.
It's great when you can sell 20,000 plus tickets to Morehead State, Northwestern State, and McNeese State. And that's a really, really beautiful thing you can do when you can sell tickets like that, and you charge pretty well for your tickets.
Yeah. So let's move into that. Morehead State versus Montana State. We'll go reverse order. Montana State wins. This one's 1:30 as well. So competing, I believe they're both on one's on ABC and one's on NBC Montana. Where none of us live in Montana, so it's ESPN Plus for us. But you got to kind of pick and choose on this one, which is kind of funny. But yeah, Morehead State just got smoked by Mercer by 50 points. Mercer is a team also flirting in between that 20 and 25 mark, might creep into the teens by the end of the season.
Wait, when did they play Mercer? I thought Mercer just played Auburn. Did they play week 0?
Yeah, week 0.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I think Morehead State probably gets smoked by more than Mercer beat them. So, Bobcats. Kyler?
Yeah, Bobcats easily win.
Yeah, this is going to be ugly. This is a bad Pioneer team versus a team that won the national title last year. This is going to be Montana State big, and they're going to pull starters.
And I stand by this. The Pioneer League is worse than a majority of the Division II conferences.
But hey, man, they count as a D1 win, so we'll take it.
Yeah, D2 teams have scholarships, so that doesn't surprise me.
Northwest Missouri State murders this team.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Next, Boatman. Sorry, you picked. Portland State's traveling to Lake Washington at 2 o'clock Mountain Time. This one will be on Pac-12 Washington. So if you got, I guess, what is it? It's not Dish. No, Dish has the Pac-12 network, not DirecTV.
Go get Sling TV. It's free for a trial.
TV. Do you get all the states with that one?
I think so.
Mountain, Washington, Oregon, and California.
Yeah, who knows? It's Pac-12 network's about to die soon. Thank God. Mighty are the men of Montlake, Chris.
No cold sweats for this one.
This is not the Washington team.
You don't think Bobby Houck's just faxing because Bruce Barnum doesn't have a cell phone? He's not faxing over his game plan from last year to his buddy Bruce Barnum?
This is not like they just took care of Kent State. Like I watched that game. I had Idaho on my iPad and I was flipping from the ass kicking that was Oregon State, Boise State, and the ass kicking that was UW Kent State on the TV. Kent State's not a bad MAC team. Like they're not bad. They can maybe go to a bowl game this year, maybe. Like UW was never in trouble. Michael Penix Jr. God, I love to say that name. He looked good. Kalen DeBoer is a great coach. My dogs roll. This is not going to be Portland State, Sac State, or San Jose State. This is going to be, at least 3 scores.
Yeah, UW wins easily.
It kills me to do it, but yeah, UW's going to win this game pretty handily. 56-0 probably. Northern Colorado is going to Wyoming, a game that maybe some people thought had Big Sky Scout potential headed into week 1. I think most of those hopes are gone. You can catch that one if you really don't like Portland State UW at the same time, 2 p.m. Mountain Time on the Mountain West Network.
That exists still?
Apparently, yeah. It's not even CBS Sports or anything. You have to watch it on the Mountain West Network.
Yeah, it's just like an app or a TV link.
Yep. Don't worry. There's a worse one coming later. But I really did think they might have a chance against Wyoming. Now I do not. The Cowboys should win this game in Laramie. Although they are traditionally bad against Big Sky opponents. Not bad, but
Idaho should
be closer than they should be. Yeah. And then Montana State lost in like the last couple seconds last year. So obviously difference between 2019 Idaho and 2021 Montana State, but maybe that's where Northern Colorado fits in that picture. But I just don't think it's going to happen. They look so bad, and Wyoming looks bad, but I wouldn't be shocked, I guess. But like Northern Colorado has a huge bounce back against Wyoming. Seems very Wyoming to have happened to them. But for the safe money, I'm going to put my pick on the Cowboys. Kyler?
All right, we've just been bashing Northern Colorado the whole time. I'm not picking them to win, but I actually think it's probably going to be closer than what we expect.
Depends on who starts.
Right, that's 100% what I was going to say. If Sermon's starting, it looked like a whole different Northern Colorado team. And I mean, when you look at like some of their guys, Dotson, Sermon, Graham from the White, they have a very star-studded roster that you just think could do something. It's got to just be coaches on this aspect. But if Sermon's playing, I think it's going to be a close game where Wyoming probably still wins. And by close, I mean probably not within 14, but closer than what we imagine.
Not a blowout.
So here's a fun stat line. Wyoming played Illinois week 0, sorry. Wyoming had 182 yards of rushing as a team. They had, however, their quarterback, he did throw the ball. He did attempt 20 passes. 5 for 20, 30 yards and a pick with a QBR of 15.
That vaunted Illinois defense.
Wyoming's not that good. They're not as good. Like, they can run the ball. I do think Wyoming wins, and this is kind of really weird to say. Like, I think if they're playing almost any other Big Sky team besides Northern Colorado, like they might lose. But if they play Jacob Sermon, like they'll have a chance, but they're going to still lose by a score or two here.
Mm-hmm.
Give me the Pokes. Give me the lads in Laramie.
What do you think about the rivalry game of University of San Diego versus Cal Poly at 3 p.m. Mountain Time in San Luis Obispo on ESPN Plus?
You know, I'm going to take the Toreros. This is the best Pioneer team. Still. Cal Poly, might feel a little good about themselves, got a little swagger. We didn't get killed by Fresno State. San Diego's beat Cal Poly before. Why not again? Give me the Toreros.
Yeah, I think this is going to be just an utter beatdown. It was a decent game last year, right? Cal Poly was horrible, and they still won by 11. And I don't know if San Diego is improved, but I think we all just saw Cal Poly's probably a little bit improved. So I just don't have faith in non-scholarship teams. I'll just say that. San Diego probably does have the most talent for a non-scholarship team, because why wouldn't you want to play in San Diego? Beautiful campus.
They're the best coach. They're the best coach, too. Like,
amazing coach. Yeah. And I mean, I like the Toreros. I wish they added scholarships and joined the Big Sky over maybe some of the other teams. But as of right now, I got to go Cal Poly by 2 touchdowns.
I'm also going to take the Mustangs. San Diego, I think, is on a bit of a downward trend at the moment. And Cal Poly, it's the opposite.
They just beat Laverne 58-0.
I forgot about the powerhouse of Laverne. It does change.
Is that JUCO?
Opinion. I'll go from a 31-point win to a 30-point. I'm just kidding. It won't be that.
Give the boys some respect.
It'll be like a 10 to 14-point win for Cal Poly.
Man, the Big Sky is going to have a lot of L's this week.
It's going to be a real fun show to do next week. Northern Arizona.
Have you just gone and looked at Pioneer scores before? That's what I'm doing right now. It's a fun time.
Only when I'm depressed and I can't find a puppy.
Maybe Southern Utah. Terrible Southern Utah to beat St. Thomas 44-13.
Yeah, we were all making fun of that because we heard from the Midwest folks how St. Thomas is going to actually ruin NDSU because they're going to steal all their recruits because they all get them from Minneapolis. And within 5 years, they're going to be a power in the FCS, and they're going to compete right away. And
going from D3 to D1, that's a huge jump.
Which props to them. They deserve, more people should have been honest with themselves and not put those expectations on them, because that's a big freaking jump to make. But
Butler just beat another team called St. Thomas by 5. I don't know who they don't exist in ESPN.
When do we get St. Thomas versus St. Thomas?
Georgetown. Like, they have a football team, by the way. They play in the Patriot League. They've been on that campus and that stadium. Fun fact. They beat Marist 43-12.
Out of New York.
Like what is the Pioneer League? This is a magical place.
Yeah. They're a bum conference. I wish they just dropped football altogether.
Can we just force San Diego? Nice. Can we just force San Diego to have they can pay for football scholarships. They have enough money. Why can't we get San Diego to pay for football scholarships and join the Big Sky? Their travel would be less. They'd spend less money on travel anyway.
Isn't their tuition an average of $55,000?
It's insane. And they still have 5,000 students.
Yeah. Anyways, Northern Arizona is playing Sam Houston at 4 p.m. Mountain Time. Actually, this one, for whatever reason, on the Big Sky's website, all the rest are MT. This one's MST. Didn't think there was a difference anymore. But Huntsville, Texas, on ESPN Plus. Sam Houston, I guess maybe he's kind of slouching, but I could see this being one of those games where I take Sam Houston and then NAU kind of bounces back pretty strong against them, but I just don't see it. I'm going to take the Bearcats.
Yeah, I think Bearcats by murder, by 30-plus
points. Didn't they smoke them last year too? And that was without the extra scholarships?
It wasn't competitive. Yeah. It's not going to be competitive again.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Now, Sam Houston did lose some of their players from last year, so that's good news for NAU, but they're still just gonna boat race them.
Yeah, and they got more scholarships this year.
Sam Houston didn't look terrible against a top 10 FBS team in Texas A&M. They did not look bad. They were not embarrassed. So yeah, they're gonna beat NAU by a boatload.
Yeah.
See what I did there?
By a boatload. Is that a hashtag boatload guaranteed? Do I need to add a wah, 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 wah?
I think I have to have a boatload game of the week now.
Yeah, there we go. The boatload game of the week, the biggest blowout prediction. That's gonna be a thing. I'll have a graphic.
I think this is called producing live.
Yeah, producing live. Weber State versus Utah State. So we're back to one of these fun little in-staters. It kind of actually probably could become a really good rivalry. 5 o'clock Mountain Time. So the Montana game should be over. So you should get a bunch of Big Sky people actually tune into this one. It's in Logan, obviously. It's also on Mountain West Network. What do we think about the old Aggies from the Blue Aggies of Logan versus the Wildcats of Weber?
I'll start this one so you guys can ponder a little bit. Give me Utah State. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Utah State, talk about 2 well-coached football teams. Like Blake Anderson is probably one of the best group of 5 coaches. If you're not familiar with his story, I implore you to go research it. It's a hell of a story. Jay Hill, I sang his praises on the Weber State preview last week. I think Utah State's going to win. Now, what we see, this is going to be a really telling thing of Weber is how do they stack up with a more talented football team? Do they roll over? Did they give up a fight? Because Utah State, listen, their body work so far, blow up by Alabama, can't blame them there, and a really, really close game versus UConn, which no one is quite sure how bad or good UConn is this year. Like UConn's better, but how much better are they? It's still going to be Utah State, but I could weirdly talk myself into Weber State giving them a really close scare if their offense is not atrocious.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree with you. I think this is going to be like the Idaho Wazoo game last week, except we expect this one. I think this could easily be like a 24/7 type game where
I don't disagree.
Weber has a chance to win it, but they can't throw the ball, so they run the ball 4 times in a row for 6 yards, and that's how the game ends. So I will take the old Blue Aggies of the WAC and former Sun Belt founders with the Idaho Vandals.
Big West days.
The old Big West days.
Take me back to the good old days of the Big West, baby.
In this one against Ogden. Against Ogden. Idaho at Indiana. 5 p.m. Pacific time. In Memorial Stadium there in Bloomington on the Big Ten Network.
Is this an 8 o'clock game? What the hell?
This is how it was last year, which was so weird. Because, they like to...
No shit, it's 8 o'clock my time, huh? All right, sweet. I'll be all right.
Yeah, it was a night kickoff last year, which was a long time to be in Bloomington, Indiana. It's got a lot of Moscow parallels, but more students. They like to throw back the beers.
There's nothing else to do in Indiana.
Yeah, I had to pause at 4 p.m. and go, we still don't kick off for 4 hours. Pause, ate a pizza, got ready for game time. Excited. It was one of the funnest places I've ever been to an away game. That said, I'm not going this year because I'll be picking up my new dog named Kibby. But, this one kills me to say, I don't think Idaho is competitive in this one. And I did say, to be fair on the preview, to these guys' chagrin, I gave Idaho a 20% chance to beat Washington State, and I gave them a 1% chance to beat Indiana. And they both said, you think you have a better chance to beat Washington State than Indiana? I stand by that. I think Indiana might win this one by 38 points.
It was more like the drastic difference was more what I was getting at.
Yeah. I just don't think we'll be – they had their worst year in a long time last year, and they handled Idaho.
They're also not that good this year. They're
I know. I think we will have a better score than last year. I would bet a lot of money that it won't be a blowout again this year. In the sense it was last year, like 53-7. It won't be that. But no, Idaho does not win this game. Kyler?
Nope, I don't think it's that competitive. Probably better than last year. That's a good thing. But Chris, you always have these weird one great prediction, sometimes two in a season, then the rest are just horrible. But yeah, that WSU one was your good one, where Boatman and I have said you're crazy to give them a 20% chance. Well, it's even a little higher than that. But no,
Indiana. The new show, I'm trying to do less hot takes. Before it was all about being a showman. Now I'm trying to be more of a pundit. Maybe I should get a pundit shirt.
Nope. Do your hot takes. Indiana big.
Yeah, Indiana's not that good. Nope. Fun little tidbit here. Connor Bazelak, their quarterback, came from Missouri, where his GA last year was Matt Linehan. So, not saying nice little just little connection there. Indiana did just beat Illinois, but I still think Indiana's a bottom 3 Big Ten team. But a bottom 3 Big Ten team should still kill us. We're going to need the ball to bounce our way quite a bit to get it, to keep it close again, right? Wazoo actually might be a bottom 3 Pac-12 team, and people don't want to hear that, but I think they are, and the Pac-12 is worse than the Big Ten. So Indiana by at least 3 scores. I'm going to go I could see a 42-14 here. You know what I mean? Like that seems like a reasonable score to guess.
Yep, I agree. What about Idaho State traveling to San Diego State, the other SDSU, 6 p.m. Mountain Time on the Mountain West Network.
The vaunted Mountain West Network. Beautiful stadium. Snapdragon Stadium. They just spent about $350 million on it. Go check it out.
Died. Did you see that, everyone? Because there's no shade.
There's no shade. And it's like 108 degrees. And they said, luckily it's San Diego versus Arizona, so both teams are probably used to this. The fans, however.
Because it doesn't get that hot in San Diego.
How do you design a stadium like that, though, and not make any shade?
But San Diego's normally perfect 78 degrees year round.
Right, that's like drastically hot for San Diego.
Yeah, it was hot.
I'll have to dial up Mike Linehan on this one. He still is the GA there. But I mean, Idaho State's bad. San Diego State is not as good as they have been. And they're like more of a middle of the road Mountain West team. Fun fact, guys, the Mountain West sucks this year. Like, really, the Mountain West is a bad conference this year. Hey, sorry, Mountain West fans, but it is. San Diego State's better than UNLV, and UNLV still killed Idaho State. So, give me the Aztecs.
Yeah, I'm not going to say much. San Diego State by whatever they want.
Yeah, I would love a Mountain West scalp. In fact, I would hope we beat every Mountain West team. But it ain't going to be this one.
We have 2 USDs and 2 SDSUs in this preview here. It's a fun time.
South Dakota, San Diego State, South Dakota State.
Wow,
I had to
good
make
job
sure
there.
I got that right. Well, I was afraid I tongue twisted it the other way first. Then we got Eastern Washington versus in case anyone missed it, I'm taking the Aztecs. Eastern Washington traveling to Eugene to play at 5:30 Pacific time on the Pac-12 networks. I don't know if that means Pac-12 Oregon or they're going to be on Pac-12 network. But
the big one that no one still gets.
The big one. Was that the Cougs Vandals were on the big one, weren't we?
All I know is I found a YouTube stream, and that's how I watched the game.
Oh. Anywho, legally, of course.
It was on YouTube. I didn't do anything.
Yeah. Oregon looked
bad.
How do I phrase this?
Terrible.
Not great against Georgia. They looked like a JV squad against Georgia. But then we are talking about Georgia, defending national.
Yeah, but
not national champions, defending college football playoff champions.
Sure.
I would love to see Eastern give them a frisky run. I think they might be able to make it competitive, kind of like UC Davis did against Cal in the first quarter. maybe deep into the second quarter. But I think the end of this game is one where if you only see the box score, you'll go, it's a butt kicking. But I think Eastern can stay frisky for 20, 25 minutes. But yeah, Oregon's going to win this one probably like 42-17.
I think Oregon is so embarrassed after their performance. They're going to be pissed and they're going to go, hey, who do we get to take it out on? Eastern Washington. And they are just going to beat us, and beat the crap out of us.
Work every single kink out twice.
Well, I think they are just going to just look at us like we don't belong anywhere, not even in the same universe. I think they're going to be really pissed, and it's going to show on the field. I'm not happy. I would have rather had them have a competitive game with Georgia, because now I just think they're going to be pissed and have a statement to prove.
Yeah. I tend to agree. However, I am a big fan of situations. Oregon has a massive game next week. They get to host BYU. Is he going BYU? BYU has an outside shot at the college football playoff, folks. They might be the best football team on the West Coast. Their schedule allows them to go undefeated if they choose to do so themselves, because they're favored to beat Baylor this weekend. Baylor, my conference champs.
Yeah.
So Oregon could be they might be thinking about the old boys from Provo coming in next week. Can't lose them on national TV on Fox. Prime kick at 3:30 Eastern. That's a great window. Bo Nix is like here. I think Oregon is almost like going to be like a Portland State or NAU equivalent of they're going to beat the shit out of teams that are worse than them, and they are going to be terrible against teams that are better than them. It's one of those teams that are worse than them. They're gonna kick the crap out of them, but then probably look terrible next week versus BYU.
Yep.
Okay.
It's not gonna be pretty.
UC Davis going to the other SDSU, 6:00 Pacific time. This one's in Brookings. Is pay-per-view on GoJax.com.
Ooh, the pay-per-view can't beat
it. Is
it
really? It's not on ESPN Plus.
According to the Big Sky's website, under the Watch tab, it takes you to GoJax.com, and it's like $14.95.
$15? These mother effers are charging $15 because they just want you to come to the game in South Dakota. Is what they're trying to do.
Dude, they gotta have it on ESPN Plus. The Missouri Valley has a deal with them.
Yeah, but it's kind of like, remember how Grizz, they had those weird games before we had the ESPN Plus where like it was Learfield negotiated or whatever?
On ESPN, it says it's on ESPN Plus.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then why does the Big Sky, why are they charging if you can get it on ESPN Plus? I would just pay the $5 for
They're doing that just for Colorado fans. They're like, these dumb Big Sky fans, let's get $15 out of them.
Hey, because
just so folks don't think I'm a liar.
Oh, because if they get even if they even get one person to pay, they've won.
Yeah, ESPN says it's on ESPN Plus.
On the Big Sky's website, you push video and it goes to this. Even has a countdown.
Hey, again, they know if they get one person to pay the $15, they've won.
That's crazy. Yeah, true. You're right. It's 15 more than they would have had. But, I blame the Big Sky for that. Come on, boys.
Yeah.
No. I take that back. What am I saying? I blame South Dakota State for that.
Yeah. So this game, South Dakota State's offense looked really bad, but I don't anticipate it's going to look very bad against UC Davis. We saw them play last year. It wasn't competitive at all. This was a playoff game. I think South Dakota State is I don't think it's going to be 56-24 like it was last year. It'll probably be a little closer, but by a little closer, probably still 47-24. Like, it's not going to be competitive.
Yeah. They just had to play Iowa, which probably has a top 20 defense in college football. Like, Iowa's defense is. I like to use the term vaunted this podcast. It's my word of the day on this podcast. Their defense it's a vaunted defense. I think UC Davis is going to lose by more to South Dakota State than they did to Cal. That's going to be my take here. It's my.
Don't pick
Chris wants to pick them. He wants
Don't
to
do
do it.
it. You really love them too much. They're not that good.
His 8-3 UC Davis. So Kyler, he needs this because then if they don't, then they have to go. Then they have to go 8-1 on the bounce if they don't win this according to Chris's predictions. So
pick them.
I'm picking him. Davis, and it kills me because I feel bad because like I actually really like South Dakota State.
This is exactly what he's going to say.
All the South Dakota State people hate me because they think I hate their team. I'm like, I actually like your team.
No,
I don't
the
think
only
you do.
times I have to pick against them are like when I just don't.
This is what's going to happen. After South Dakota State wins, he's going to go, I told you I picked Isaiah Davis. He had 150 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground. South Dakota State's running back. I picked Davis. You heard?
No, this one I'm all in. I think they're going to win like 21-20. Ags.
You just can't. You can't.
Got nothing.
8-8. So
got nothing.
Because he can't.
I'm sorry to the A team and the B team.
Because he can't rationalize, Kyler. He can't rationalize them winning 8 of their last 9 games.
Yeah.
So he has to pick this one. He backed himself into the corner with the 8-3 record.
Brendan, Dallas, and Chad are never going to talk to me again in my life, and I'll have to.
I hope you're right, though. I hope you're right. Go Davis, but no.
We don't even have that many Missouri Valley Big Sky challenges anymore. We kind of need this one because, well, we might. If this goes, we'll go 2-0 in this week and beat them, the South Dakotas. Game of the week. What's your game of the week? So if you're a casual fan, your game's over. You can't get your game because it's on GoJacks.com or Mountain West Network. What game should you tune into? Bowman?
I'm going to tell you to tune back into the Mountain West Network and go watch Weber at Utah State. Go a little in conference. This is the type of game I talked about you don't want to have to schedule, right? Like your Utah State, this game does you 0 good. Like they already sell enough of their stadium anyway. They don't need the attendance help. This is a scary game. Like you cannot get caught here in a bad spot if you're Utah State. So tune back into the Mountain West Network and watch this game. It does. ESPN FPI does give Weber State like a 20% chance of winning. That is massive compared to like every other FBS Big Sky game this week. Like Eastern is like 4.5%. Idaho's like 3.8%. We're 3.8% at Idaho. I think we were like 4.5% versus Wazoo. So they're saying that Weber State has like almost a 5-time better chance to beat Utah State than Idaho did versus Wazoo out of the gate. So just take with that as you will.
Yeah. Kyler, what's your game of the week?
I'm doing it. Northern Colorado versus Wyoming. We're gonna see.
That's a dirty game.
We're gonna see if Sermon plays. If McCaffrey can put his pride aside and actually get the better quarterback in there,
dirty game.
then maybe we can see Northern Colorado with some juice, with some spice. But
that's a dirty game.
Some spice.
I had to. You picked the only good game on the week.
Tell me you're
good.
It is. Tell me you're a degenerate without being a degenerate.
Surprise of the week, game of the week. Go Bears.
I know.
I'm gonna pick. I'm partnering with Boatman here. I think it's gonna be
Chris. You're not picking your massive upset as game of the week. Your upset is not
game upset. That's a game of the week.
All right, fine. I'll take them as game of the week.
I mean, there we go.
You can't pick the upset.
And then I'll do my upset pick for maybe somebody else. I did sneaky good game of the week here, but those are more of a conference game thing, so we're not going to do that.
It's not really a sneaky good game of the week.
Who's on upset watch? And to set the field for the listeners, for the watchers, we're not saying this is going to happen. We're saying, like, if there was a team that could pull off an upset this week, you can swing for the fences or you can play it safe to home. You can pick Weber over Utah State, who's the most likely, or you could go bold and go Northern Colorado over Wyoming or South Dakota over Montana. The floor is yours. Make it fun. Make it frisky. I'll start it off. I'm not going to take the one I just took. I think my best shot in an upset because UC Davis and South Dakota State are kind of close in the polls. They're like 13-2. It's like it's a top 15 matchup. But Weber State, Utah State, that's a frisky freaking game. That's a FFG, frisky freaking game right there. if Weber State's defense can be the defensive pass and they can remotely look like they're half alive on offense, they can make this competitive. If Bronson Barron can play any shadow that he did in 2020 and Josh Davis looks healthy, they could and should win this game against Utah State. Kyler?
I don't know if I'll say should and could, but it is what it is. So I'm going to go with MSU. Morehead State over Montana. No,
awesome. Clipping that one for a YouTube
I
short.
can't do it. MSU is the best. I really don't think we're going to see an upset this week.
Well,
so if I had to pick
That's
one,
the point of this.
if I had to pick one, and I don't want to just pick what you picked because I don't think that's fun. We'll go South Dakota at Montana, even though I just said it's going to be a boat race. I don't see many close games this week. So at least it's a playoff team versus another playoff team. Maybe South Dakota can keep it competitive for a little bit. But I really don't think there is going to be an upset, to be honest.
I guess on principle alone, that's a good pick, right? Like a playoff team versus another playoff team. So they're two decent teams, and but we talk about such the gap that is so large. Who needs who needs a playoff that big? Like, let's keep it small. I think 12 is the right number.
Yeah. Well, and
12,
Bowman, for your pick, you already picked an upset.
I did, but I'm gonna go with a different one because I did pick an upset.
Bears
outright.
Greeley Bears. Greeley Bears.
No, I picked an upset outright earlier tonight. So upset watch is Cal Poly for me. I mean, these are the two closest teams Sagarin ranking wise. San Diego has had their number in the past. There's no reason that San Diego can't win again. It just screams that this is the likeliest chance for an upset to me, probably. Just based off of past and in coaching and where both teams are at. Cal Poly probably is a better team. They would if there was a fictitious line out there. Good luck finding it. I don't know what it would be, but Cal Poly would probably be favored. But it might be one of those ones where you see Cal Poly minus 2.5, and you're going like, wait a minute, well, that seems like a trap game. So yeah, I'll go with the Toreros driving up I-5 to the 101 to San Luis Obispo, baby.
So we all believe there's like a pretty almost certain chance the Big Sky goes 2-10 this week.
Oh, yeah. Who do we have? The Montanas.
Cal Poly and Montana State.
Yeah. Oh, maybe 3 and 9.
I got 3 wins.
Yeah, I'd say we should probably get one between either obviously this Cal Poly game and then like
Montana's.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying
a Weber could surprise,
exactly.
Right?
We'll probably get 3. Like somebody will win who probably shouldn't.
Ed McCaffrey pulls his head out of his ass and plays Jake Sermon at quarterback instead of his son. And Wyoming's quarterback goes 5 for 20 again.
God, how funny would that be?
I don't know why everybody thinks that's such a wild take, but
if they lose to Houston Baptist and beat Wyoming, that is the greatest program of all time.
Did we just quit the podcast and
let's just quit it?
We don't know anything.
South Dakota State beats Cal this last weekend, Chris. South Dakota State beats Cal this last weekend.
When you put it that way,
I'm just letting you know.
Iowa would smoke Cal. So,
that would be like it'd be like 9-2. Yeah, would be the final score.
7-0.
It'd be 12-2. Come on.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry. Did you see Iowa's quarterback had a QBR of 1?
That's so
Even
bad.
Dylan McCaffrey does better than that.
That's so bad.
A QBR of 1.
All right. It's been 2 hours. We're getting loopy. Let's get that out of here. Thank you guys for tuning in. These will get quicker as the season gets rolling and we don't have like 24 games to preview and review and recap and all that jazz. Anyways, I'm Chris. That's Kyler. That's Alex. Thank you guys for tuning in. Give us a like, 5-star rating, all the good stuff. Click another video at the end of it, and we'll see you guys next week.